Good morning, my name is Mrs. De Hoost and I'm going to go through the Cheshire Grammar School Induction for A-Level Economics. So we are following Pearson Edexcel Level 3 and we are following Economics A as opposed to Economics B. So you can click on to Pearson and you'll find Economics A. So here we have the link to the course, the schemes of work, or the exam papers. If you want to have a look, it's worth looking at. So we're going to study two areas of economics. One is microeconomics. Microeconomics studies the behaviour of firms, consumers and government. So for example, we know that the government has lifted lockdown and it has encouraged businesses like Primark to want to open up their doors, encourage consumers to pop in. Primark earns extra revenues, of course, and consumers' demand for these types of goods are satisfied. And of course, the government also begins to earn value-added tax on the sale of these goods. So we find that consumers, firms and governments are interdependent of each other's behaviour. Equally, we know that there's been less demand for oil, for petrol and diesel. Therefore, we know BP is removing itself away from investing in oil, and that will, of course, mean less value-added tax and revenues for the government as well. And they are trying to invest into alternatives, which they're hoping that the government will support them with that through subsidies. Okay. Macroeconomics, however, studies the whole economy. So we're looking at large problems such as unemployment and growth and exports. Should we have had to import so much PPE equipment? Could we have produced some of these goods ourselves? And the other thing, most recently, we are looking at, well, should we be concentrating on happiness as well as growth? Yes, growth simply means we earn more income, but is happiness important as well for increased productivity? So let's start off with microeconomics. Microeconomics studies really markets and how they behave, and in the syllabus we're looking at theme 1 and theme 3. Theme 1 you'll find in year 1 and theme 3 appears in A2. Theme 1, so let's have a look at this. First year you'll be studying how markets behave. Here's an interesting story here. So Nurofen has produced for consumption 4 different types of packaging. Now each of these products offer a different solution for whatever consumers want. So this one's for day and night flu, this is for sinus relief, this is blocked nose relief, this is another one. But as you can see, so consumers have a choice. They can choose whichever one suits their needs. And of course, the firm is able to charge different prices because consumers will have different demands. What we found out was that on investigation, each of these products had the same chemical compounds and the same proportions as well. So it is the same product, but at different prices. So the market is for pain relief. The prices are different. It is the same product, and we say that consumers have some information, but to be fair, all the information was out there for consumers to read, but they didn't read it, and consumers don't have time, and sometimes they don't understand some of the terminology. So in this case, is it wrong? What is wrong? Sorry, yeah, what is it wrong for Nurofen to be able to charge higher prices? So they earn more revenues, increase their market share, earn more profits. Consumers make a choice. They choose which of these tablets is good for them, but we know it's the same compound. So should consumers take more responsibility and look at the information provided? And of course, should the government step in and regulate the way these firms behave? Because it could be suggested that they're misleading the public. Who knows? But the government does step in sometimes to help consumers make more rational decisions. So we'll be looking at how markets work. This is just the story behind this product here if you want to have a look. So in economics, in microeconomics, we're assuming here that consumers are rational. Consumers have all information in front of them, and they will make a decision which best suits their utility. So consumers are considered to want to maximize their utility and their benefits. We are supposed to be rational. We make rational decisions when we have choices. Well, do we make rational decisions? No, we don't, because there are other factors that affect our decision making. So when we buy crisps or Coca-Cola or sweets, it's not always rational, but we may buy products because our friends are buying it, or because it's less expensive than another product, or we feel that the whole of society has it, so we should have it. So we don't always make decisions based on what is best for us, but other reasons as well. We also know that consumers have a lot of power over firms. This is an interesting story here, that Walmart, through a backlash of consumers, were withdrawing this particular product. So if consumers don't buy the product, firms don't earn the revenues. They've already costed the production of making the product. Therefore, they are going to make less revenue than before. So therefore, their profits will be less. So they really have to provide whatever the consumer wants in most cases. They have to be alert to what consumers want. Sometimes we find that we've got to study what we call market failure. So we know consumers know they want to buy Coca-Cola, but they don't always know this product is good or bad for them. So although we have choice, we have consumer sovereignty of what we buy, we also make a decision whether it's good for us or not. However, when we buy some products and services, yes, we enjoy the product, it makes us happy, with the benefit to it. Yes, it increases revenues for the firm, so it's a good decision. However, other people not involved in the production and consumption may be affected, and we call this third parties effects. So the decisions we make sometimes affect other people not involved in the production and consumption, which is what we need to address. So some of the market failures occurring because of our behaviour is vehicle pollution, noise pollution. So if we look at the moment, the government, before government off lockdown, it is rational. It is rational to not travel by train, because we don't want to be in a crowded carriage. It is rational to use one's car to travel. However, by using a car, we are emitting pollution, which is going to affect third-party people. So yes, it's rational, but also it has an impact on other people. But we need to know by how much. Gambling and addiction. Is it rational to gamble? For some people, it keeps them happy, but when it becomes addictive, it becomes irrational. So everything can be measured as irrational and irrational, but it's just the balance of where it fits. Theme 3 appears in A2, and we were looking at studying the power of Google and Facebook, and we'll be looking at what governments can do to protect consumers from this amazing power. And we could argue that Amazon is very beneficial to society because the prices are cheaper, they're delivered to our door very quickly, and we have a lot of choice. However, we also know they have a lot of power over price, and they destroy other competitors. Another nice example here, just the last one here, I think on this one, on microeconomics, we know that sometimes some firms, for example, this one here, Tesla, has earned very few profits. In fact, it's made a loss, yet their share price is huge. I mean, it's just massive, $700 a share. Now, people buy shares because they're hoping they'll get as the profits rise, they'll get a larger dividend return on this share. So there's huge demand for Tesla shares, which has pushed up the price because those people who are buying a share are expecting a higher dividend. Higher dividends come when the firm earns higher profits, but they haven't made any profits yet. So we need to investigate, why do people feel that they want to allocate their monies into a company that hasn't made profits yet. So we'll be looking at the role of profits, dividends, and share price. Macroeconomics, the second part, studies the behaviour of the whole economy. In year 1, we'll study theme 2. In year 2, we'll be studying theme 4, which is the A2 part of it. So theme 1, nice and sort of easy. So this one here, we'll be looking at the role of the whole economy. So, for example, we know the other day that the UK announced really there were going to be about 12,000 job losses, and it's 11, but it's actually as we go through the day, it's the 12,000 jobs and more job losses being announced even today. So what does that mean for the economy? Well, it would mean that there'll be more people who are claiming benefits because they have no job. It also means pressure on the government to provide universal credit at the right time, in the right amount, to the right people, which means they probably have to either raise taxes to pay for this, or we have to borrow even more. And of course, all this increased unemployment may lead to higher poverty levels, and that then has its own problems. So we'll be looking at big things. One of the exam papers you'll be studying will ask you to explain the macro and micro impacts of events. So we'll be looking at things like tax rates, international competitiveness, and something like this here. See these job losses and how does it affect us? How does it affect the government's decisions, and how do firms react? So theme 4 appears in A2's globalization is one area of theme 4. So here's an example. We're going to be looking at how UK's international competitiveness. Where does UK fit in terms of exports and imports relative to other countries? Now, we've noticed in the last 10 years that most economies are following protectionist policies. They want to protect their own industries. They want to protect their jobs. And Mr. Trump from America at the moment has placed a 50% tax on imports coming from Korea and mainly China, really. So what this means is that America wants to protect its own washing machine industry, its Whirlpool. So cheaper washing machines coming from Korea and China now have a 50% tax placed upon them. Well, what does that mean? It simply means USA consumers used to be able to buy cheaper washing machines coming from China. They can't do that anymore because these washing machines are slightly more expensive. So they can now choose to buy Whirlpool washing machines. Whirlpool washing machines are going to be more expensive because labor costs in China are far cheaper than labor costs in America. So people on low incomes particularly are going to be regressively affected by this decision. Yes, so we'd have to look, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that, yes, there are fewer imports, but people on low incomes have little choice. So for them, it's regressive. It also means we know that China will retaliate and has done. I'll just show you what they've done. So if you have a look at this at some point when you want to, we know that for every time America's placed a tax on Chinese imports into USA, China has retaliated, which makes the products become expensive for both countries. The problem here is that China still has a lower production cost than America. So even when governments, even when the Trump administration has placed higher taxes on Chinese goods, they're still cheaper than the American goods. So it hasn't really hindered imports coming from China to America. We'll be looking at Brexit as well. Well, yeah, from now on Brexit, what happened to the pound against the dollar, pound against the euro as well. That should be pound against the dollar. And we're looking at share prices also. That should be euro, sorry. And we're looking at the FTSE a bit more in detail and what does that mean for UK investors. 20% of the calls assesses quantitative analysis. So we're going to have to do 20% of numerical calculations, etc. And these are one of the things you have to be able to do. Calculate VAT, calculate indexes. We'll teach you how to do that, it's not a problem. We'll be looking at how to calculate exchange rate movements as well. The exam itself, so there are 3 papers, each 2 hours long, 100 marks on each paper. Paper 1 and paper 2 have the same structure, 3 sections, short answer questions, data response, and a 25 mark question. These are doable, very doable. Paper 3, however, so paper 3 covers all 4 themes. So paper 1 actually go back. Paper 1 covers themes 1 and 3. Paper 2 covers themes 2 and 4, nicely split. Then paper 3 is the synoptic paper. It covers all 4 themes. And there is no short answers. There's simply a 5, 8, 12 questions plus a 25 marker. You get 2 of these to do in the paper. So question 1 is a 5, 8, 12, 25, and question 2 is a 5, 8, 12, 25. And I've given you the link for you to look at exam papers if you wish. Doable. Exam structures, typical questions you get: define, explain, identify, supply and demand, explain, discuss, evaluate. So evaluate being the higher order skills that the examiner is looking for. Well, how do we work? Well, we will give you reading notes in advance to prepare for. We would expect you to review and consolidate your notes very regularly and add to them. We would expect really that you keep on top of your work and learn the complex terminology. Please read around the subject. There's so much information out there. Good reads are the FT, Tutor2. We have subscription to the FT. We have subscription to the Economist. Tutor2 is excellent to have a look at. They're very, very good. Regular knowledge tests. Some extra reading. I think you've got this already with the notes. There's things like Kate Raworth is quite good. Tim Hartford is very, very good to read. And Ha Jun Chang is particularly good. Big Short, I suggest you do watch that film if you can. I'm watching it at the moment again. I'm trying to get my head around credit default swaps. And of course, The Economist got a really good article on about COVID-19. Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. And I do hope you do choose economics to study. It is a very good subject. Any questions, please do email us and we'll take them. Thank you very much. Good luck. Bye-bye.